Thank you all for being here this morning for our biweekly press update. Today I want to start off paying honor to a great man who is a pillar of our community, Junior Bridgman, Ulysses Bridgman, who we also all call Junior. He's a man that is without description. He's done so much for our community. He's done so much internationally as far as being a pillar of business, but he's also a great humanitarian who has served this community well over the years. And I think he's a great example to everyone here about a man who was given a gift by God to play basketball and used it to turn it into something else. And many of us can't jump as high, we can't shoot as well, but we can all try to duplicate his work ethic. And I think we can all use that as an example to strive to be more like that. And our hearts go out to his family. A bit of a crime overview for the past 2 weeks. Year to date, we're sitting at 19 homicides, which puts us about 42% lower than last year at this time. 42 non-fatal shootings, so we're sitting at 38% lower. Our carjackings are down by 34%, and our traffic fatalities are down by 42%. Obviously, it is early in the year still, so we want to make sure that these numbers are not by chance, and it is by intent. It's because of the way that we are working with community to solve problems, get bad people off the street, prevent incidents before they happen. But a lot of it is about proactive policing and making sure officers are out there doing their job and getting people off the street. And so I want to give you a little bit of an update on some of the things that we've done in the past couple of weeks. If you recall, I talked about how I'm asking officers to go out there and do this hard work. And we've done a really good job when you look at our crime plan about focusing on those people who have already gotten warrants and committed crimes and getting them off the street. We're doing a really good job with our long-term investigations. But one of the things that I want to change focus to a little bit more is on disruption of crime. Getting people before they commit that serious violent felony. And get them with some charges to get them off the street. So just in the past 2 weeks, CID, our Criminal Interdiction Division, alone has gotten 12 individuals, 3 of them juveniles, that are known or suspected gang or group members that have a history of violent crime. They've gotten them for possession of stolen cars, drug charges. You can see the numerous weapons that we've taken off the street. And we're talking about one unit in just over 2 weeks, or just about 2 weeks, that have gotten 12 of these individuals off the street. That's a significant impact. And I think what you need to understand is that these people should not be able to move around our city freely without thinking that the police are going to get them. I said that out of the 12, 3 of them are juveniles. One of these juveniles, we know that his mom knows what he's into. He's been shot at several times. He's 16 years old. Unfortunately, the best thing for him, the thing that might save his life, is to be locked up. We know that in the past year or so, he's been shot at numerous times. Right before we get him with a gun, marijuana, and a stolen car, he's talking to his mother. Kids like that, I feel really, really badly for. And so, unfortunately, sometimes the best way to save their lives is to put them into jail and get them away from that environment. Because when you don't even have a parent that's going to raise you properly, it's unfortunate that the system has to step in. And so that is part of our job, is to make sure that he is not the next victim or next shooter, because obviously he's carrying that gun for a reason. But I also want to highlight some of the work that's being done by patrol out here, particularly highlight the 1st and 2nd divisions, where they do have a disproportionate percentage of our violent crime. So these officers are going out here and they're hitting the streets in both enforcement activities and other proactive activities as far as engaging the community. So a lot of walking patrols, particularly in downtown and Russell neighborhood, Park Hill, where they're getting out here and they're talking to business owners, they're talking to people that live in neighborhoods, they're talking to the people on the block and asking them about what they need and engaging with them, but also doing that enforcement work. So you can see where in both of these divisions, crime is down across the board, and that's largely due to that increased presence of officers being active out there. Now I want to shift focus just a little bit to an issue that we brought up a few weeks ago about the increase in suicides in our city. We're sitting at 40 suicides year to date. That is more than we've ever had at this time. This is the first time that we can recall that we've had more suicides than we've had homicides. It is an epidemic. Our job in law enforcement and policing is to keep people safe and protect constitutional rights. While suicide is not a crime, our job is to keep people alive. And victims of suicide deserve all of our attention. And we want to make sure that you are looking for those signs and symptoms of the people in your family, your friend group, who might be struggling. Talk to them, reach out to them. If you're a person who is in one of those situations where you are thinking about taking your life, take a pause. When you're not in that circumstance, when you're feeling good, but you know you have that ideation, set up things in your path to make sure that you take a minute to think about what you're doing, so that it's not a spur of the moment decision when things are going bad. Something like having a gun lock or putting your gun in a safe, because that is the leading cause of, or the leading method of suicide is gun deaths. And so anything that can put a little pause for somebody before they get to that point where they end their own life, put those things in place. Reach out to people. Call the suicide hotline. Calls to the suicide hotline this year so far, year to date, are up almost 300 year to date already. So you can see that this is a serious issue, and our goal is to keep people alive. I think, we've all been in situations where we've felt absolutely horrible about the way our life is going, and we're all still here. So think about those people that have made that next step, how badly they had to feel, and keep them in your hearts. Reach out to them. Don't be afraid to intervene. You will not offend somebody. Don't worry about hurting somebody's feelings. Save their life. Now, shifting gears, I want to give you, I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Chief McKinley and Assistant Special Agent in Charge from the ATF, Gibbs, to brief you on a homicide incident that we had this past week.
Thank you, Chief. Again, my name is Emily McKinley. I'm one of the deputy chiefs for Louisville Metro Police Department. Like the chief said, I'm going to provide an update on a complex situation that unfolded last week in Middletown. This particular incident posed a significant potential danger to the community, so it's important that we are transparent about our decisions and provide some context as to what occurred. As I get into this, I want to remind you all, we've talked about this several times before in other press conferences, but our safety priorities. So victims are first on our safety priority list, making sure victims are safe and that they are rendered the aid that they need. And then any other uninvolved citizens or any bystanders, those are the next on our priority list. And then officers, and then finally the suspects. And it's also important to note how several local and federal law enforcement agencies and metro agencies work together to quickly contain this volatile situation and mitigate any threat to the public. So I'll remind you, on Wednesday, March 12th, Middletown police responded to a shooting on Winter Springs Court. The victim was identified as John McQuillan, and he was transported to University of Louisville Hospital, where he died of his injuries. His son, Brandon McQuillan, was eventually arrested and charged with his murder. It appears they did have a history of domestic violence, and there were active emergency protective orders between the two of them. Middletown police requested the assistance of LMPD to lead the investigation of the homicide, which is a common request from small cities within the Louisville metro area. Mr. John McQuillan, was shot in the parking lot of his apartment complex next to his vehicle. And during the course of the initial response by responding officers, they noticed a bag with suspicious content near the victim's vehicle. LMPD's bomb squad, with the assistance of the ATF and the FBI, immediately responded to assess the bag and determine the level or the type of threat. And quickly it was determined that the bag potentially contained suspected explosive material. Officers then quickly but methodically were able to evacuate nearby residents to ensure their safety. And many of these neighbors were elderly, and they were able to walk just across the street to a nearby community room in the complex. Once the scene was rendered safe and uninvolved citizens were safe, our bomb technicians conducted a controlled detonation of the bag, eliminating the threat without further incident. I'm now going to show a video of this detonation. It's going to highlight the danger and the seriousness of this incident and the skill and the work of our bomb squad. I'll play it again. So you'll notice that the vehicle, the bag is next to the vehicle, the right of the vehicle. There is a green evidence marker that was originally placed there by first responders. And once they noticed the bag there, they didn't left the area. And so during this, simultaneously as this was happening, our homicide detectives were still working. They were combing through surveillance video, they were interviewing family, and they were able to quickly identify a suspect and a suspect vehicle. And then they then located that vehicle about a mile and a half or so away from this original scene. They located it simply by just driving around, looking down driveways or streets. It wasn't anything fancy that allowed them to find that vehicle. It was just simply good police work and taking the initiative to look for that car. So then, with the assistance of our SWAT team, the suspect, Brandon McQuillan, was safely taken into custody. He was armed and he barricaded himself in his vehicle. And we really want to thank the community for their patience and their cooperation and their trust as we worked to resolve this volatile situation. We know that this took up about 15 hours of time that day, and it caused a lot of disruption in the Middletown community. There were several streets that were closed. There was a lot of police activity in the area. I want to thank the community for their cooperation and patience during that time. I also want to commend our bomb squad for their expertise and their professionalism in handling this complex and rapidly evolving situation. This could have ended very differently if it were not for the quick, thorough response for several law enforcement agencies, including our bomb techs. And then thank you to our SWAT team for ensuring the safe resolution and the arrest of the suspect. Again, he was armed and he was barricaded in that vehicle. And then our homicide unit, they worked tirelessly that day on this investigation and others, and their dedication to this case and all other investigations is truly commendable. I will note, and I don't know if you all recall, that same day they picked up another homicide while this investigation was going on in the 3900 block of River Oaks Circle. That victim was identified as Quincy Coleman. He was 19 years old. And they worked that homicide while working this one as well, and they were also able to solve that murder. We currently have an arrest warrant for Mr. Terry Matthews, who is responsible for the murder of Quincy Coleman. We're asking the public's help on locating locating Terry Matthews. If you have any knowledge of his whereabouts, please call 574 LMPD. But again, just highlighting the work of that homicide unit, that weekend, they also worked another homicide that they solved with the help of the SWAT team, and they were able to take another subject into custody over the weekend. And that took several hours of their time, a several-hour standoff with that suspect. And I highlight these three teams, the bomb squad, our SWAT team, our homicide unit. These are just three examples of high-performing teams on our department. They love the work they do. None of us ever want to see anyone hurt or killed or in any danger. But I want Louisvillians to know that if that happens here or when that happens here, you have the best of the best coming. They are professional. They are proud of what they do. They love what they do. They are confident in their abilities. They are confident in their team. And they are secure enough because of that to be self-critical of each other, to be self-critical of themselves, and to make sure that every subsequent incident is handled just a little bit better than the last. And that is what any organization should strive for: employees and teams that are professional, that are proud, that are confident and secure in what they do. And that's what we do here at LMPD. But what we need most from you all and the community in all cases is continued support and partnership for information and tips for our investigations, to keep dangerous criminals off our streets, to locate Mr. Terry Matthews, and to provide justice and closure for victims and their families. And finally, I will acknowledge and I want to express our appreciation for the support and collaboration of our federal partners at the ATF and the FBI. We have a strong working relationship with our federal partners, and we value that extremely. And while LMPD has taken the lead on the Middletown homicide, the ATF has taken lead on the investigation and any charges related to the explosives in Middletown. And I will now turn this over to Acting Special Agent in charge of the ATF, Mr. A.J. Gibbs, who will offer some context as to the role of the ATF investigation. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Chief McKinley. I appreciate you. Part of the ATF's response to this is that ATF investigates the criminal use of fire and explosives in investigations. As you've heard earlier, on Wednesday, March 12th, there was an incident where a suspicious package was recovered at the homicide scene. With the quick thinking of LMPD CSU, they identified as a potential hazard and called the Louisville Metro Police Department's bomb squad. As a result, through a whole government approach, both ATF and FBI joined our LMPD partners on addressing this issue. I also want to commend LMPD's bomb squad. They developed an excellent plan of rendering this device safe and also keeping the public safe as well in doing so. That afternoon, ATF responded with approximately 12 ATF special agents. Those included Special Agent bomb techs, certified explosive specialists, as well as a certified fire investigator and an explosive detection canine. This would be a normal and typical response for a complicated scene with this type of evidence and threat as well. But not only that, FBI responded as well with bomb techs from their office in Louisville and their evidence response team. Again, it was a whole of government approach to address this. The video that you saw earlier with the render safe procedure, it was effective. A preliminary analysis of the items from that scene in that package revealed that this was not a hoax. This was not some sort of elaborate type of prank. This was, in fact, a true threat to the community and to we believe the intended victim, which was retired Deputy John McQuillan. After the RSP, or the render safe procedure, was effective, LMPD, ATF, and FBI worked together to do a systematic analysis of the evidence items, to document the scene and collect all of those parts and pieces of the device, which was accomplished. Since that time, the device was, the remnants of the device were brought to the ATF Forensic Science Laboratory, which is located in the Washington Capital Region, where it's at right now. Once the laboratory examines that, they're going to look at different aspects of this device. So that'll include forensic analysis through biometrics for any fingerprints or DNA that may be on it or the components, as well as a firearm tool mark examination, also the contents of how the device was built and what was it intended to do. That is ongoing right now. I want to share something about the device itself. In the explosives and the arson community, it would be referred to as a destructive device, and more specifically, an improvised incendiary device. So I just wanted to clear that up with the media, but it was in fact definitely a threat, and we're glad that everyone is safe as a result of the excellent work by our partners. In addition to that, I want to reach out to the loved ones of retired Deputy McQuillan. Our hearts are with his loved ones and his friends. He lost his life that day. And we owe it as law enforcement officials and a prosecution team to deliver justice that should be delivered to him and his family. I'd also like to take a moment also to thank, and you've heard about LMPD's excellent work, but for the leadership of Chief Humphrey, Deputy Chief McKinley, as well as the homicide department or homicide unit, additionally the LMPD bomb squad, the CSU, and especially thanks to our FBI partners who brought out many agents as well to help us collect this evidence. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn this back over to Chief Humphrey. Thank you.
Thank you, Agent Gibbs, and I think we just say Special Agent in charge. Okay, just acting today, but let's put in some calls because he and his guys are doing a great job over at ATF. This is just an absolutely amazing example of interdepartmental cooperation and collaboration between the federal agencies, LMPD, Middletown Police, Fire, EMS, and Metro Safe. It's pretty amazing, you know. And the things that those guys on the bomb squad do is pretty underappreciated. I don't know if any of you all really ever come out to bomb squad scenes, but the amount of times they get called out on suspicious packages and things like that, those are very, very dangerous situations potentially. And I know from from my years on SWAT, our job when we saw a device was to back away and call an adult. So don't touch it. So for those guys to be brave enough to walk up to those things and take care of that type of business, it's pretty amazing. Just want to go into shift gears a little bit into some of the events upcoming. I want to focus on spring break. Spring break is a time where we enjoy time with our families. Many people travel, so be safe on the roads and watch kids with drinking. We know that spring break is a time where high school and college kids like to have fun. That's all well and good, but be careful out there. Make sure that we're looking out for each other. We will have details and extra patrols around the waterfront in some of our areas that we expect to have increased traffic during this time to make sure that everybody stays safe. But that is a responsibility of all of us to have a fun time, but do it in a safe way. And then lastly, I want to bring attention to an issue that's come up recently. We have another issue with a potential wanted person. And I want to say that the deal here is that we all work hard for what we have. And when you earn something, you expect that you will be rewarded in kind for your hard work and dedication. In this situation here, we have our robbery and fraud unit that needs to work on this. We need your help. There's a guy out of North Carolina. I think his name is Bubba. We haven't confirmed that yet. But he has caused issues in our community, and we need to make sure that justice is served. The fact that U of L got an 8 seed is a tragedy, and it's an affront to the hard work that the University of Louisville basketball team put in. I would never say that somebody is deserving of anything, because I think the point where you think you're deserving of something, you stop working to earn it. But they earned their right into the tournament. And I'll be there cheering on Coach Kelsey and the guys. And hopefully they prove that their worth in the tournament. The good thing is they have a chance to prove themselves still. And hopefully we see them in San Antonio in a couple of weeks. So with that, we'll open it up to questions.
Turning back to the explosive that you found in Middletown, do you have any idea of what he was using, or did you find any other devices at his house?
Thank you for the question. The question was there how it was designed or any components that were found at his house? For the integrity of the investigation, which is still ongoing, we're not going to get into specifics of that. What we can say is that the way that the device was believed to be constructed, it was potentially viable. It had all the necessary components to be considered a destructive device. And that, talking earlier about it being an incendiary or improvised incendiary device, it would normally be an ignitable liquid under pressure that would explode.
And what kind of damage would that have done?
In these type of situations, it could be injury or death. So yes.
That was put there for the victim.
Based upon the analysis of the scene and where it was placed, we believe that it was intended for the victim, which was Mr. McQuillan, and not anybody from the public or even law enforcement for that matter.
Was all of the components available for consumer here? Could somebody just walk into a store and buy the parts?
I'm not going to discuss, that's a great question, but we're not willing to discuss that right now because, as we talked about earlier, the evidence is at the Forensic Science Laboratory, and we need to have that analyzed first and completed before we release that information. And this has not been charged yet, so this is still an ongoing investigation, this part of the case.
This question might be for LMPD. Do you all have any response to neighbors who you spoke to out there, which I know I was out there, just expressing frustration about maybe the lack of communication in a situation involving a deadly shooting and a possible explosive? Totally understand it's a fluid situation, but they said just initially they just didn't even know what was going on.
Right. So the question is about communication with the neighbors who were disrupted and displaced during that time period. And I can tell you that when we moved everyone into that community center, I know our bomb squad commander as well as several officers communicated with them. I know that it's never a situation where you're going to be satisfied with the level of communication when you get displaced from your home. But there's also a lot of preliminary information that we just could not share. There was a lot of unknowns that we couldn't share. And so we do our best to make sure that we accommodate people, but making them safe is our priority. We can make them feel better later.
They also, just a follow-up to that, expressed frustration about the fact that there was a suspect that went into custody that had to do with that situation. Though the murder charge came later, there were initial charges that night, and they just wanted to know that you all had someone that wasn't related. Like even for us, we had to go find information that confirmed that this was a person connected to the Middletown situation.
Right. So about the charging decisions that came later, that's something that we do in collaboration with the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, and we have to make sure that we do everything appropriately. And we are not going to charge someone with a crime like that until we feel comfortable that we have all the probable cause that we need. And so I believe the homicide unit did an outstanding job of gathering evidence and making sure that they made that solid case prior to that particular charging decision.
Brandon McQuillan, did he have any law enforcement in his background?
I'm not sure if he had any law enforcement in his background.
Chief, any developments on the triple shooting outside the DMV office?
Yeah, so that case is still ongoing. I believe that we have some good suspects in that triple homicide. We believe that that is going to be group related as well, and I trust that in one way or the other we will be able to bring that case to closure and make some arrests on that case.
Something a little closer to our backyard. When do you plan to move into our backyard?
Oh, so the new headquarters. So that way your old boss can overlook you now, still. So hopefully we'll get moved in the new headquarters sometime late summer. Obviously this has taken much longer than any of us anticipated. We would have hoped to have been in there last year sometime, but yeah, so we're looking at an initial move in maybe August or September.
Derby preps, have you released anything on that yet?
So we actually had a Derby prep meeting over at Churchill Downs amongst all the public safety departments around the city with Churchill Downs Security. That happened this morning. There was about 100 people there, and so they will be putting out that information soon. They're finalizing a couple of things, but I think you can expect a lot of the things that you've seen in the past with traffic and security shutdowns.
Just going back, just a follow-up to what I was asking as far as suspects being in custody for situations like that. Is it just situational when you let people know that you have someone?
So yes, and I think we could have done a better job of getting information out more quickly. We have a new comms director who chastised me for not getting that out earlier. So no, we should have done a better job of getting out information more quickly, but I think there was some hesitancy to make sure that we were not putting out incorrect information. And sometimes we err on the side of caution because I would rather put out the correct information slow than the wrong information fast. So what will be in the new headquarters building? This is a really exciting project, and we'll have a tour of it once it's up and going. But initially, all of the executive offices will move into the fourth floor, but pretty much everything except for the patrol divisions will be there. So outside of patrol and some of the special operations, because you just can't accommodate those, as well as things like internal affairs, they'll be housed separately in their own divisions, but just about every other unit. So we'll estimate between sworn and civilian staff, we'll have probably over 600 people that'll work out of that building. So it'll be nice to have one central location and we don't have to do things like find a room for a press conference at the last minute. So
The old headquarters building, long history. Some
Yes.
of it good, some of it not so good.
well, it's not so good except for the mold and the lead paint.
You perceive this new headquarters building as being fitting into the plan of being more welcoming to the community and improving the relationship with the community, and how would that happen?
Well, absolutely, and I think one thing that I think this department needs a shot in the arm in is pride, and we haven't had a location to call our home that we could be proud of in a long time. We've been the old headquarters was a condemned building for, I don't know, maybe since I was born or something, and then we've moved kind of from building to building trying to find a home. And so this will be nice to have a place where we can all be proud of. We'll have a museum in there so we can tell our history, so we can explain it to the public. It'll be a much more welcoming environment to be able to meet with the public and show them what we do and talk to them and do the valuable work of policing. So really, really excited about it. So go Cards, go Krogering, have a good day.